Hello, kiddos. This is Mr. B, and it is today, February 22nd, Monday, and this is our final week for week 12 in trimester 2, our final week, week 12, trimester 2. This work will be due next week, Monday. A note to fifth period students, tomorrow we have other activities that will affect your normal live lecture, so this asynchronous recording will be more important for you than usual. All right, so this is our artwork for this week, and I'm going to begin going over that now. At the top of the page, you're going to ultimately write week 12, okay? And then you're going to start at the top by drawing a staff, an individual staff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. Then I want you to pretend as if there were another line and another line, and you're going to skip it like that, and you're going to start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this is your introduction this week for the first time to something, at least in our class, something called the grand staff. And the grand staff here combines both the treble and the bass clef. So here we will draw a treble clef as we've been drawing it for a few weeks. Okay. And oftentimes, since this is C, D, E, F, G, this is often called the G clef. The bass clef is called the F clef because this little dot here sits at the F. And we draw it like this, and we come down and around, and then there's two little dots that further define where that F is. Now, these move sometimes depending on the instrument type, but right now, both of these are where they need to be. In this week's work, we're going to be working in 4/4 time. 4/4. And we're going to be repeating a pattern. So we're adding such symbols in this way so that we know where this repetition is. And then our note here is this week that our quarter note is going to be used, and we have a BPM of 40. And the other thing we want to make sure that everybody understands, and everything that we've been talking about, is that our A is at 440 hertz, just as a convention. Then above this, in the space that you have available, you're going to make like a little, like a visitor's box. And we're going to finish these off back here. And these symbols tell us that we're going to repeat what occurs inside of this space. Okay, and that's what we're doing this week in terms of performance. And we ultimately have, I'm going to draw it out this week, this way at least, to share it as if it were two distinct measures. And the parts that we're going to play, I'm going to draw out, but I want you to see up here that this means 1, 2, 3. These are the repetitions. We're repeating this 4 times. And this week we're doing the octave. And an octave, the octave, and by Jim Bruce, and period 0. And then that line will come back down over here and define the top of this musical expression. Now, we are going to draw a middle C right here. And again, in the iPad, that's C3. And from a pitch perspective, just know that that is 261.63 hertz. And that's the reason for why we are calling this middle C. Scientific notation, it is C4. Okay. But we're going to stay within the iPad convention because that's the reference we use most. Down here, we're going to draw this as our C2, and the frequency there is 230. pardon me, no, 130 rather, 130 point, I want to say that's 62. I have another version of it. 130.82. 82 hertz. 130.82. 130.82. That's the actual frequency of it, cycles per second. Then up here, we will have what we will call, again in the iPad is C4. That's 523.26 hertz. Just so we get a sense of things here. And then we're going to have way up here, you can see we're drawing two ledger lines. We have C5 from the iPad's perspective, and that is 1046.52 cycles per second. Okay. And then our last C that we're going to draw, again, is two ledger lines, and it's down here, and that is a C1, and that C1 is equal to 65.41 hertz. 65.41 hertz. Okay. And then you're going to make these quarter notes, and we're going to need ledger lines again. I'm drawing these a little short for good reason, good measure. Here we go. Good measure, right? So that it looks right in the measure. And then there's that one, and then our last one is here to stay in that measure. Looking a little Mickey Mouse, but we're going to keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, and those are our final four quarter notes, because this is ultimately describing the pattern that we're playing this week. Then down here on the bottom, we're going to go and we're going to create this spirally bit. And we have 1, so we're going to start here, and then times around. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to stop at the fourth lap. And we're going counterclockwise. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to stop at the fourth time around, like I said. And then we're going to mark these off like we have in the past in terms of our pitch class space. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. And these we're going to carry down into our spiral, so they translate. So we see where all those would fit normally. Okay. And each one of these is a C. This is a C, this is a C, this is a C, this is a C, this is a C. And these are the very same C's that we have been playing. This would be the 5, this would be the 4, this would be the 3, this would be the 2, and this would be ultimately our C, C1. Am I wrong? Hold on. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes. 1 is perfect. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. So there's that. I'm using my reference here to keep myself honest. So here we all have C sharp. We have D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, and B, just as we normally do. And the purpose this time is to really help us understand both a scalar octave and an interval octave, what those things can mean. And the reason why we call it an octave is because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes. That's why it's called an octave. It's also called a heptatonic, or a 7 steps to the tonic, back to the tonic scale. And I'll show you why that is here in just a minute. So again, here we have C5, C4, C3, C2, C1. Here you have C5, C4, C3, C2, C1. So we understand, again, the spiral relationship here. And so we're going to take, and now that we've labeled that, we're going to go, okay, we're going from C to D. okay? And then we're going from D to E. Notice we're not going to touch any of the sharps. We're specifically not touching the sharps. We're specifically going around in this pattern, and then we're coming back to, and this is also what really the definition of an octave is in what is called a diatonic sense, or a heptatonic sense even. Really, heptatonic, it's both heptatonic and diatonic. Diatonic means that you stay within the scale and you don't play any other notes beyond those defined in the scale. And the heptatonic scale is the most common diatonic, the C major. Here our steps are whole, okay, whole. Here we have a half step. Here we have a whole step. Here we have a whole step. Here we have a whole step. And here we have a half step. That's what we have going on there. And so we're going to have 2 comment boxes this week. And the things that will be translated in here is to say that the octave is a pitch that is 2 times or 1/2 the pitch of a reference tone or frequency. Okay? And then this side, the name octave is from the 8 notes in a 7-step heptatonic scale. This is the diatonic C major scale. It is in the pattern of whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step. And that is your exemplary work for week 12, the end of T2.